Watch today's episode to learn how Jessica from Kickhouse not only creates the Kickhouse, but then scales it to 35 stores in the midst of a pandemic in only 14 months. Welcome back, everybody, to today's episode of Clicks and Bricks. I've got Jessica Yarmey with me. She is the CEO of the Kickhouse. She's got a phenomenal offer for you. If you're looking to expand into a new line of business, she's got a great deal for you at the end of this episode. How are you doing today, Jessica?
Hey, Ken, how are you?
Fantastic. Thank you for joining us today. I'm super excited about this episode because we've got a lot of things in common about what my side business is and then what you do as a living are pretty similar, and that's exciting. So I'd like to talk about those kinds of things. But before we jump into that, can you tell the audience a little bit about your business today?
Yeah, Kickhouse is a modern kickboxing studio concept. We have 35 locations open across the country. And we started during the pandemic. So when a lot of the headlines were shouting about the at-home workout craze and how the gym industry was dead, we were digging into it and doubling down and investing in the in-person fitness experience.
Right. So you say you launched during the pandemic. Were you planning prior to the pandemic?
No.
So you just put it right into gear during the middle of the shutdowns and everything, like, yep, let's just go the other direction from the rest of the planet.
Exactly. We kind of ran the most intense contrarian play of all time. But when the pandemic started and when the shutdowns started, I knew there would be opportunities with so many things being turned upside down and so many changes in the world. I knew there would be opportunities. I didn't know exactly what the opportunity would be, but I just kept an open mind and stayed open to networking and conversations. And, I'm a believer in the in-person fitness experience. So when a lot of the world started to run away from that direction, it did just open up opportunities to step into that space. And
right.
One of the most common questions I get is like, wasn't that risky? Or like, weren't you scared? And yes, of course, I was petrified. But in my mind, with everything moving around as much as it was, the greater risk was to sit still and not do anything and just wait for things to return to normal.
Right.
I saw that things weren't going back to normal. So I knew I needed to do something.
Right. So, and some of those opportunities, folks, that you think about during the pandemic, and still we're at a great time to negotiate real estate right now, especially in the strip malls. But in the midst of the pandemic, there was never a better time to negotiate real estate deals, right? So a couple of tips on your real estate deals. If you can I like to stay away from the REITs, which is the real estate investment groups, right? Or do you jump in bed with those guys, or do you tend to lean on them because of their scale of availability? Like there's two different things,
across
right?
the country. Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, it's been landlord by landlord, and we've seen some of the big groups really be good partners through the time.
Okay.
And we've seen some of the small landlords be good partners through the time. So
Right.
It is finding a landlord who is going to be a partner.
Right. Take the time
especially through this.
Take the time when you're getting a space to really talk to the landlord about expectations, what's going to happen. At that point, you could even say, hey, this is a new concept. We're not really exactly sure how it's going to go. We might need some concessions later down the road. Just make sure that those things are all on the table right out of the gate. And if you can get away with it, never sign a personal guarantee on a long-term lease on somebody else's property. As a new time business owner, you might not be able to get away with that, right? But on your second and third, you can kind of go, no, my businesses are successful, and I'm not going to put my family's livelihood in jeopardy for this business, for your real estate. So I think getting away from the personal guarantees on real estate is a huge play for any small business owner because it just locks up so much of your assets long-term on somebody else's property. If you can get away from that, do. I like dealing with independent landlords just because it feels like, a team of people and my team of people talking to each other, not this big executive group with a bunch of red tape. But different people have different objectives. If you're growing really, really fast, those real estate investment teams help because they have access to a lot of different real estate. But that's the biggest opportunity that I found during the pandemic when opening, because I opened a new business in the midst of the pandemic as well. And I thought it was a whole lot of fun, but I'm a little different like that. So can you tell us, was there any other pretty big opportunities that you saw other than the real estate plays opening a business during the pandemic? Because I think you're still in the pandemic, right? So some of these things are still in play right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's other individuals who are maybe like you and me, who are thinking about things entrepreneurial. They are thinking about starting a new business, or they are thinking about, I have had this 9 to 5 and this pandemic has helped me see that this isn't my passion, and I want to work in my passion. I want to do something that I feel passionately about, that really feels like going to work feels fun, going to work feels rewarding. And I think that's been a major trend coming out of the pandemic. And it's just been great to see people pursue those entrepreneurial dreams, and think creatively about their career path, and think creatively about multiple streams of income.
Right.
I think that's really, really come out of the pandemic in a huge way, and it's a big opportunity for people.
Absolutely. The opportunities in today's world are just limitless, right? And it's just so staggering. My biggest issue is, which opportunity do I take advantage of or try to take advantage of? Now, you saw an opportunity. So how long ago was the first store opened?
August of 2020.
August of 2020. So what is that, 16 months, 12, 14 months ago? And you've gone from 0 stores, we're just going to call it 14 months, to 30. How many stores do you have now? How many locations?
35.
35. That's breakneck speed. That's really, really fast to open 35 locations in 14 months, right? So before we jump into that, though, let's just wind it back a little bit. So in August of last year, can you tell us what you were doing in March of last year? And then, what was that transition like from where you were to now you are the CFO of a franchise that is, you don't know it at this moment when you did that, but it's going to be 35 locations within a year, right? So can you tell us a little bit about that transition, the mindset that it took, even, talk about how your family was engaged and, any of those things. What bumps in the road did you have, and what wild inspirations did you maybe have, and what either motivated you, or I like to say possessed you to go down this path?
Possessed is a great word. So in March of 2020, I was the chief marketing officer for Club Pilates. I had been with Club Pilates for 3 years, started with them when it was about 250 locations. And at the time that I left, it was 615 locations. Club Pilates is a 100% franchised fitness brand. So I saw the power of the franchise model. I saw the power of the in-person workout experience. I was a consumer of the in-person workout experience. And when the shutdowns happened, and the studios went to virtual workouts, I saw the void that lives between virtual and in person. And when a lot of the headlines were talking about the movement toward at-home workouts, I saw a lot of people struggling to get that done. And within the first few months of the pandemic, people reporting undesired weight gain, undesired weight loss for a lot of men, losing the muscle tone, myself during the pandemic. And I'm in the fitness industry, and I'm eating poorly, I'm working out less. And, so I think that helped me really see that, maybe the in-person workout experience this year is going to take a big hit. But people need the knowledge, the accountability, the motivation, the support of coach-led fitness.
Yes.
They need those places to go to reach their next level, to like get to that place that they want to get to get the goals that they want to achieve. Like they need to do that outside of their home. Like there has to be that third place in their life where they can go, apart from home and apart from work.
Right.
So,
and hopefully it's not happy hour every day, right? You got to get to the gym
right.
sometimes. So,
yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think people in the pandemic, we're treating a lot of hours like happy hour. Alcohol consumption was up, food consumption was up. I mean, like
Absolutely.
the stress levels were up. Everything that we know that fitness cures, like all of those things were at play. So that's why I'm still bullish about the return to the in-person workout experience, because I think we're still on that rebound as people, like as individuals. Absolutely. I think we're still returning to a healthy place. So
the pandemic has caused a lot of issues, and she'll hate me if she ever hears this episode. My daughter has developed touch anxiety over this pandemic, right? So we've got, she's got help overcoming that, but going to the gym is a huge benefit to help, the psychological issues that we're all going to be going through over the next 20 or 30 years from our children being, masked and isolated, right? These are things that we call cruel and unusual to our prisoners, and we've done it to our entire country. So, having places like this, that other place to go, and thank you for doing this, because so many places shut down during the pandemic that people don't have their place to go anymore. So I think you were brilliant by taking the opportunity to go and dive into this market while real estate was cheap, while competition is going away, right? Their old favorite place is gone. Now they can find a new favorite place. So I think it's brilliant, your timing on jumping into this.
Well, and I think we've been all living in a state of stress, and it's not just work-related stress and the stress of working from home, which is definitely a thing, but just being in the pandemic, we're constantly in a threatened state. Are we going to contract COVID? If we contract COVID, what are we going to do? And, that there's the stress that comes with that. So right. We all have this like anxiety layer that like was not there pre-pandemic, and the best way to deal with anxiety, or the best way to deal with those added stressors, is to go to the gym and work it off. And don't right. just let that like adrenaline, the fight or flight, don't just let that sit in your body and marinate, get that out of your system, go hit something, go kick something,
right.
and get back to level, get back to balance.
Yeah. So can we talk a little bit? I don't like to go too far into boxing is one of my hot passions, right? There's no doubt about that, right? So it's something I do almost every single day of my life. And you talked about a couple of different psychological things, and I don't want to talk too much about the combat sports and mindset, but can you tell us a little bit about the mental aspects that you get from exercising your fight or flight? And we're in a constant state of fear of the pandemic, or at least a lot of people are. And I think that combat sports exercises your fight or flight and lets you deal with these extraordinary circumstances in your world in a much calmer way, and a much more way, because you exercise, even though you're just hitting a heavy bag, I think you're still exercising your fight or flight responses, right? And exercising that in your brain. You got that dopamine dump. Is that something you see as well? With a member coming in, their life changes in a significant way in about 2 or 3 months of doing this kind of exercise, right?
It's and this ties into what the entrepreneurial side that I know you're super passionate about also, but like, to be an entrepreneur, you need to train your body to understand how to deal with and process stress. There's an upside of stress. It flows adrenaline through your body so you can accomplish more. You can churn through your work projects. But the consistency of that adrenaline, the consistency of the fight or flight, and then not having a process for burning it off, like that's where entrepreneurs get stuck, where
Right.
okay, we're just going to constantly be in this state of chaos and craziness, and we're not going to have that outlet, we're not going to have that recovery process, we're not going to have the adrenaline burn off. So I agree exactly with what you're saying, that like when we have those stressful days, can we, whether it's boxing and hitting something, whether it's just going for a long run and torching through, or a walk, like just tell your body that you now are able to process it. It's okay to let it go and get yourself back to that balance. What I love about boxing is, especially for me, because I'm a beginner still in the practice, I have to go in and really focus on what I'm doing. I have to focus on my left or my right. I have to focus on orthodox, and my mind is going constantly in the class, and it almost pulls my mind off of some of the other things that I might be stressed about in my day. And I have to like laser focus in on what I'm doing. My body has to torch through the calories to like make this workout happen. So it's just naturally and organically processing through all the stressors that were like running through the body. And then when you're done, your heart rate just kind of naturally returns to like what is a natural resting rate versus a stressed out, high anxiety resting rate.
And I think what I find is, where you're at right now in learning the practice, and this is any practice, this is yoga or Pilates or bar or boxing or kickboxing, you have this moments where you're learning the skill sets and you're learning the proper form and technique, and then you're focused on that. But when that goes away and you've got your form and your technique down, this is still that 30 minutes or an hour that your conscious kind of just goes away, and you can really just have a clear mind for that time. And if you don't ever practice doing that, of having a clear mind, great things come to clear minds. Like, I have no doubt about that at all. If you can get your mind clear, then great things will come. And you're not having a clear mind if you are checking your email every 10 minutes and you have the music playing in the background, or when you're not really focusing your physical energy on something. It's really hard to clear your mind. Now, once you've figured that out, clearing your mind is a lot easier to do. But I found it being the easiest way for me to get my mind off everything else in the day. Like, get it off the payroll, get it off the electric bill, get it off of, is this negotiations with these vendors and this contract with this particular client, right? It's just all of those things are on your mind all day. Clearing your mind will give you can look at it from a different perspective and really be in a great place.
I totally agree, and I just want to like share something, because I'm all about just like being honest with what I'm crappy at. Yeah. And one of the greatest ways you can clear your mind or train your mind is through meditation. I am terrible at meditation. I have tried it, and it's like so far from where my mind lives on a regular basis, that I can't get to it, and it stresses me out more than it like calms me down. But exactly what you're saying, where like if I'm in a yoga class, if I'm walking, like I can get to almost a meditative mind through exercise. So for people who are listening, who are like, I know I need to have a clear mind, I know I need to make clear decisions as an entrepreneur, but I can't do that whole like meditation thing, just know that there's other ways you can get to that headspace. Even if it's just quiet time in your day, no music playing, not on email, not on social media, or explore it through exercise, because I do believe that there's like a way to get to a meditative place through movement and through focus on movement, where you have the same benefits, but you don't have maybe the jump sometimes that it takes people to get to meditation. I'm terrible at it. If you guys are able to do it, more power to you, because I've heard it's amazing.
Yeah, I have two tricks on meditation. One, I think an easy way to learn how to meditate for me would be to learn how to do something to your failure point, right? So, and it can be really simple. It can just be a plank, right? Like a low plank, just like, 10 minutes is a long, long plank. So, but if you can do that and then really hold yourself and say, I'm just going to do this until my body fails. That's a really easy way. You're pushing your body to failure, but it's 10 minutes, right? And you're pushing your body to really block everything else out, right? And then just, I'm going to plank for as long as I can, and you'll find yourself in a pretty close meditative state at the end of that. My other trick for meditation is it's called a Muse headset. It's about $300, but it's been wildly helpful for me to learn how to meditate, and I've been doing that now for about 8 months, and it has basically changed my life in multiple ways. But it's been a huge help, and it's a headset that goes on. It tells you when you're calm. The phone app like walks you through everything that you're supposed to be doing. So I was with you. I couldn't figure out how to meditate on my own. I watched all the YouTube videos and all the guys saying, hey, you got to do these things if you want to be successful. And they're not. I don't think they're wrong, but it's hard to figure out how to do it. So I like in business and on the podcast, I like to really try to find out actionable things that people can try to do to turn those things around. And I think those two tricks for me help dramatically. And doing a plank until you fail is free. Costs you no money, right? It costs you about 10 minutes. Some people it'll only take 2 or 3 minutes.
I was just gonna say, I think for me, I'll try that, but I'll get to 2 minutes, and that'll be my failure point.
Yeah, and that's okay. But your failure point should be after you're shaking, right? Your body should be shaking a little bit, and really like push through that, and find where you fail, and then find where you think you're gonna fail, and push through that, right? And then wow, all kinds of stuff starts to happen inside your brain. Like, well, I can do this, and then, well, how long can I do this for? So I think those are fun little tricks to push your body and your mind. But I'm digressing pretty far. So you were what were you at the Pilates company? What was your role?
Chief Marketing Officer. So I oversaw the promotion and the protection of the Club Pilates brand.
Right. So that's a huge skill set to have when you're opening your own business, right? So you were Chief Marketing Officer of a pretty significant brand at that point, doing a similar, it's not a similar concept, it's a similar model, right? It's a subscription-based out-of-home exercise platform that's instructor-led, right?
Yep.
So pretty similar business model, different concepts. What were you doing prior to Pilates? Because it was different, right? It wasn't in the fitness industry.
Well, I've been in the fitness industry since 2012.
Okay.
I was with Gold's Gym in the big box space, with You Fit Health Clubs in the big box space. But if we back up to like 2008, I really started in like marketing, but specifically in the franchising space. So there's a lot of magic to the franchising space, and I saw that firsthand when I was working on the Burger King business. And you have thousands of entrepreneurs in the same room, and they're marching in the same direction, and there's so much power behind that. And I really just kind of fell in love with the franchising model and the ability to grow quickly via franchising, the ability to like collaborate and get best practices faster through franchising. And so like I spent a lot of time working in restaurant franchising, and my Gold's Gym move really came at a crossroads. I had the opportunity to work at Gold's Gym, and then I also had the opportunity to go work at a small burger franchise. And I don't eat meat, and so like the move to Gold's Gym was really an opportunity to overlap a passion for marketing, a passion for franchising, with a passion for fitness. Like I was a personal trainer, I played soccer in college, and I lived this healthy life. And so I think anytime you can Venn diagram things that you love, that's where you're going to find your like career sweet spot, where it's not just one thing that you love, but you're overlapping a number of things that you really enjoy, and
Right.
make that your career and your own business. So, I think that's where like I've just kind of hit a good stride, is just finding like that place where I can build brands in fitness, in franchising,
Right.
and have that just like marketing overlay. It's been really like magical to live there for the last few years.
So I just want to jump into some controversial topics for a second, right? And I want to talk about like just stereotypes for a little bit, right? So the stereotype of an entrepreneur, I fit that stereotype: middle-aged white guy, right? Strong personalities, things like that. You fit the model of a new generation of entrepreneurs, right? Young, talented female coming up, right? Hopefully doors are opening up for you, which I love, and thank you for being a trendsetter for my daughter, right? I pray that she, when she gets to doing what she does, she finds what she loves to do. If it's opening franchises, or right now she tells me she wants to live in a van, and I support that if she can be healthy and happy. But you're out there doing these things in a world that is primarily men focused, and not only men focused, but strong personality types, like very strong personality types. And you've managed to, like with your Kickhouse, you've got 30. Are all 35 of your locations franchised? Or
Yes.
are they corporate? All 35 are franchised.
Mm-hmm.
None of them are corporate owned.
Correct.
Okay. So, and then what's the percentage of male versus female owners of your gyms? Do you know that off the top of your head, roughly?
It's about 60-40. I have really strong female representation in the Kickhouse family, which I love. I mean, I think,
Right.
regardless of what background you're coming from.
The end user is female, right? For the most part, for the kickboxing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if your core audience is a 40-year-old female, who better to run that business, who better to operate that studio
Right.
than a female who can like connect on that level. So I think that's been one thing that's helped me be successful, like as a marketer, but now in a CEO seat, is I've been a lifelong consumer of fitness. So I understand the operations from like being in the space, being a consumer, going to the studios. One of my first jobs, I was working a front desk at a gym. Like I have seen the space as someone who just loves fitness, and I think that's helped me make the jump from CMO to CEO, which is definitely still daunting, but I've seen enough of the fitness industry that I feel confident in making that jump.
Right. On a scale of 1 to 10, how important do you think it is for a business owner, CEO, to have a marketing, not necessarily a marketing background, but some marketing intelligence about today's marketing landscape? Do you think a CEO could do that today without any of that information, or do you think it's vital that a CEO needs to have some of that, understanding pixel tracking and retargeting and email sequencing and stuff like that?
I'll give you the answer you probably don't want.
Okay.
I don't think the CEO needs to have a marketing background. I think they need to understand that it's important. And if they don't have that skill set, then they need to hire an amazing CMO to sit in that seat to fill in that skill set. So like the pixel tracking, the retargeting, the automation that's happening right now, it's unprecedented the way that we can reach people.
Yes.
But it's also more fragmented than it's been historically, and it's happening at the speed of light. So I graduated with a marketing degree. Do I use any part of my marketing degree on a regular basis? Absolutely not.
Right.
Because it's all happening like as we are talking right now. I mean, you're running a podcast. Like 10 years ago, podcasts weren't a thing, and
Right.
now it's really like a critical component of a brand building strategy, of a content strategy.
Right.
So I think you can be a successful CEO with an accounting background. You can be a successful CEO with a marketing background, with a technology background. Like bring whatever background, but then bring an understanding of where your blind spots are, and then hire people to fill your biggest blind spots.
Absolutely. And I think Henry Ford teaches us that better than anybody, right? If you followed his story, he was a fan of I don't need to know everything. I just hire the people that know the stuff, right? So thank you for your answer. I do appreciate it. I didn't have an expectation to answer. I think that it is important for a CEO to have a base knowledge of each one of the components, but not necessarily an in-depth knowledge, simply so that they can ask the proper questions. But if they have, I agree with you 100% that if you don't have the skill set, hire the CMO that you know and you can trust them, and they're going to have to be pretty close to your pocket at all times, right? Because this is the marketing side is coming up with the offers, coming up with the products, coming up with the product placement. All of those things are wildly important, and a great business can be made off of one great offer, right? So the marketing team can be the catalyst, or is probably going to be the catalyst to really making your company successful, right? I mean,
one example of that.
If nobody knows who you are, then nobody's going to buy your product, right? So
right. Yeah, and I'll share just one example to reinforce your point. We started with a very strong merchandise offering because, like, coming from Gold's Gym, one of the ways that Gold's Gym got their name out there was to get good merchandise into all the fitness community out in Venice Beach, and that's how they grew their brand. And so I created the Kickhouse name, and then how do you quickly get people marching behind that name? Like, how do you get people quickly embracing that name as something that they connect with? And there's no better way to connect with people than cool merch, apparel that they want to wear, and apparel that they want to customize and personalize. So definitely, like, there's those kind of aspects of brand building that you have to understand if you don't have unlimited pockets. So if you're going to kind of be scrappy, and if you're going to build in a cost-effective way, it's good to know those kind of like tips and tricks. Right.
So we have Gold's Gym that put their t-shirts on giant muscle-bound men, put them on Venice Beach doing pull-ups, right? That ends up being in like Baywatch episodes and all kinds of earned media that they get because these big bodybuilders are wearing those shirts. Another almost identical scenario is Damon John when he was starting FUBU. He printed a bunch of like 3XLs and 4XLs t-shirts and started giving them to the bouncers at the nightclubs where the rappers were going, right? So he was putting these walking billboards out there everywhere. I mean, we're in such a world of digital that we forget about these very traditional, highly effective marketing tools, t-shirts. I mean, you can get a t-shirt for as low as $4, right? If you just do a simple black print with a one color print vinyl, you can get them really cheap if you're buying 100 or more at a time. So, and people wearing your t-shirt is just, especially if you're in a local area, there's no better way to do it. So,
it does extend. It extends into the digital, and it extends into the social just so organically as people post and share everything nowadays.
Yeah, so they're taking pictures of them on their shirt with your shirt on, and then they might tag you in it, right? Who knows what's happening? So I agree that the merchandise is an absolute home run. I mean, I know when I was young, I worked in the music industry, and that was, they don't. And today, bands don't sell records; they sell T-shirts, right? That's their product. Their product is their logo, their brand, and all those things. So I think that's fantastic insight, and thank you for that information. So moving on to the next segment, and before we do that, do you have any offers that you would like to give our listeners? And our listeners are small business owners across the country, but maybe globally. I'm not sure. Do you have any offers that you would like to extend our listeners specifically?
Yeah, so for any Clicks and Bricks podcast listeners, if you guys have ever thought about opening a franchise and you're interested in learning more information about Kickhouse and joining Kickhouse Nation, we're offering 10% off of your initial franchise fee. You can visit thekickhouse.com/franchise for more information.
Absolutely. And if you know anything about franchises, right now there's a fee, there's 35 locations. That fee is only going to go up as she hits 100 locations, 200 locations, 300 locations, right? That fee is going to continue to go up because simple supply and demand. But if you want to be if you want to do a concept and you don't have a great idea of what concept you want to move forward, and you like the idea of team playing and all those things, franchising is a fantastic way to go. And if you've never opened a business, I think it's a great way to learn the ropes and really understand every single aspect of the business you're running. Because when you start a business on your own, you don't have that operating guide. You don't know what you don't know at the end of the day, right? And with a franchise, you get a marketing plan, you get a strategy, you get the colors, you don't have to think about those things. So it's just a really big head start, and you have a model and a campaign that you know works, and at least in another market. So move that laterally over to a new market and spin it out. So thank you for the offer. That's a huge offer. 10% off of that fee is wild, and they can put that right back in. On the franchise fees, do you have any financing options available, or is it just straight cash and carry?
We have third-party financing that's available, and so we have connections that we can make for you. If you're interested in starting your own business, there's really never been a better time to start your own business, whether you're going to be an entrepreneur or you want to be a part of a franchise. There's so much small business opportunity
and incentives
out there. So I'm happy to even connect with you about that at a high level. So yeah,
so typically
now's a great time.
There's some requirements that you need to meet, but if you're sitting at home, you're like, man, I'd really love to own my own business, but I could never afford it. I could never do it. If you have those mindsets, just make the call and see what can happen. If you start talking, you start pushing that envelope, you'll be amazed at what doors open up for you and what a franchisor can help you do on the financing side. They've got relationships with the SBA. They've got relationships with local banks. They might have relationships with landlords across the country already that can really help you push through all of these things. And I think you might be surprised at the models that they can put together to convince the bank to loan you the money, because you're going to amortize that over 3 and 5 years. So I know a lot of people are sitting there, and I know I lived in a household where my parents were always, we want to start our own business, and my dad finally did 2 years before he passed away, which was a real shame that it took him that long in his life to make that jump. And I think it was the happiest 2 years of his life, which is maybe why I'm so obsessed with not having a regular job. But moving forward, at the end of the day, if you're thinking about owning a business and you don't know how to make the next step, franchising is a great way to get your foot in the door. However, there is generally a pretty decent commitment to the franchise. Are you a 5 or 10-year franchise agreement?
We're a 10-year franchise agreement.
Which is totally normal, right? A 10-year franchise agreement, whenever you're going to get in this relationship, you wouldn't get into a marriage and think, oh, we'll see how this goes, right? And that's how seriously you take this. You should be in it for the 10 years. And there's some cases that you might want to leave early, but have those exit strategies kind of in mind, but don't focus on them too much. But you should be expecting 10 years, a 10-year relationship at minimum, and hopefully it goes on for the rest of your life, and you can hand this business down to your kids or whatever your plan happens to be, right? And a sport like boxing and kickboxing, my theory is it's never gonna not be popular, right? It's the world's oldest sport. So, moving on, throughout this challenge and going from 0 to 35 locations, I'm sure that you've been into moments of adversity. And can you tell, and I like talking about it because I think that people need as many tools in their toolbox as possible. So do you have a tip or a trick on overcoming adversity that you use in your business life or your personal life for that matter?
Well, I appreciate you asking that question and asking it of most of the people that you talk to, because I think it's important to shine a spotlight on the fact that it's not all glitter and gold 24/7. It's not everything that's posted on LinkedIn. Being an entrepreneur is a grind. I mean, there are so many pros about it, but it is also one of the hardest things you're going to do. It's like trading the 9 to 5 for a 24/7. And in that 24/7, you're not always winning. And I don't know, Ken, you can probably help me with the quote and the reference, but there's the boxing quote about it's not how hard you can hit, but it's how many times you can get hit and get back up.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that is entrepreneurship. I mean, you You try, you fail, you fall flat on your face, and you just have to get back up. And especially during this pandemic, that's been the game. It has not been easy. It has been super stressful. But do we believe in what we're doing enough that even when our backs are against the wall, like we have the conviction to get back up, try something different, you know, go fail in a different manner, but keep on being out there. And you only really fail if you stop. You only really fail if you give up, if you throw in the towel. But the micro fails that are along the way, that is part of the journey. It's part of what's going to make you great in the long run. Like the short-term losses, take them, embrace them, look at them as a learning opportunity more than anything, and use them to help you avoid the losses on the big stage. You want to win on the big stage, so be okay with losing on the small stage, and just keep on getting back up, and just know that it's if you're out there and you're grinding and it doesn't feel like it's clicking for you yet is the biggest word of that sentence. Like, absolutely. It's okay if it's not clicking yet. It's going to click. You just have to stay in it. You have to keep on fighting for it. And I don't know if that's a mindset or if it's just a Post-it note that like needs to live somewhere in your day. Where
I've got a couple of things on that, and you know, I really love my place in life right now because I get to teach all these young children the sport of boxing and overcoming adversity, and I relate a lot of that back to entrepreneurship. And what I think that you were talking about is creating a really good relationship with failure and understanding what failure is, right? And failure, the really only failure is giving up or stop trying, put it away. If you read the book, Think and Grow Rich, it's right behind me. There's the story about the 3 feet from gold inside that book. I think any entrepreneur should read the book. If you don't read it at least once a year, then I read it all the time. I literally read the first page every single day. But it's important to understand failure and not beat yourself up about it. Just move on. And I teach, it's a meditative teaching that I teach my boys is, and I call everybody boys if, sorry, if that's inappropriate or offensive to anybody, is to think about a failure that you've had, right, in your life. It could be a recent one. It could be as simple as, for me, it's lashing out at people. I get angry at some of the closest people in my life, and I tend to be mean to them. I'm mean to the people that I love the most, and that's always my most frustrating thing. But I look at those, and instead of like really beating myself up about them, I think about the last time I did it, and I smile, and I've named it, and now I know what I'm doing, and I can appreciate it, and I smile because now I'm recognizing that I've had this failure. I recognize what I did, right? And I should be happy about the fact that I've uncovered what I did, right? And I know how to not do that anymore. It took me a long time to learn how to not do that anymore, but at least I was able to. Once you find it and you can name it, you're like, okay, I know what that is. Now you can be happy about that failure and like, I'm not trying to do that anymore, right? And move on with life. And that's how I've found a way to really get a really good relationship with failure. Lucky for me, I'm a boxer, so I had to get a really good relationship with pain first, and that helped me get to this relationship with failure as well. But I think it's wildly important to not beat yourself up about those failures and keep chugging along. And you're right, yet is the answer. Just keep going, keep going, keep going. And when it does feel right, it feels so good. It feels like you live in a fake, you don't even understand the planet anymore. It's like, everything I do wins. Right? Every single thing I wake up, I just go and it just wins, because you don't care about your failures anymore. They're just things in your day that happen and you move on with them, right? You're not going to dwell on them at all. Because if you dwell on the negative, guess what you're going to get, folks? More negative. That's right. You get what you think about. And if you're thinking about all the negative stuff in your life, it's just going to keep coming, right? Your brain's going to let all that stuff in, and it's not a fun, healthy place to be. So thank you for your input. I very much appreciate it. And then at the end of the day, we overcome these things and we get to this point of zen or whatever it is, and we feel like we're winning, we're crushing it, right? But there's that moment from overcoming that adversity to, okay, I'm where I'm at, I'm comfortable, right? I get to this comfortable state. And I do it a lot, and I try not to do it anymore, is I would get to this comfortable state and I would say, oh, I've won, game over, and I just go to cruise control for, sometimes it's a week, sometimes it's a month, sometimes it's a couple years, right? And then something happens to get us back into that thriving mindset. Do you have any tips or tricks to get into the thriving mindset? And I know that you had to have had it selling 35 franchises in 14 months.
I have been laid off 3 times in my career, and the first 2 times were my first 2 jobs out of college. So right out of the gate, boom, boom. I start jobs, I get laid off. I start another job, I get laid off. And that was devastating.
And
but
I don't want to age you because, I mean, you look like you're in your early 30s, but you kind of tipped it off earlier. So this was .com era, right? In the early 2000s?
Yeah.
Is that about right?
I graduated in 2001. So
okay.
My first layoff was late 2001. Second was 2002. And that taught me that every day I need to be adding value. Every day I need to be growing, like leveling up and adding value to the organization that I'm working for. So I never hit cruise control because I look at, like, I have one of the best jobs in the world. Like, I work in fitness, I work in what I love. I get to do what I love on a day in and day out basis. So there's people who want my seat for sure. And I never hit cruise control because of that paranoia, probably that was instilled early on, but also just like appreciation for where I'm at. And if it's not me, it's certainly going to be somebody else. So for the time that I'm in this seat, I'm going to crush it. Like, rest assured, I'm going to crush it because I know it's not going to last forever. So right. I think that's where I don't hit cruise control ever. I don't vacation well ever, because it is like, I'm going to max this out, right. And I think that's an important, maybe entrepreneurial mindset to have, is just like, if you get one shot at this, what kind of shot are you going to take? And I'm going to swing for the fences, and, maybe it's going to work, maybe it's not, but I don't want to look back and be like, oh man, I wish I would have done this. I wish I would have put in like 1 more hour each day. I wish I would have, networked and met this individual. I wish right. I would have reached out and not like had fear of reaching out to somebody on LinkedIn. I'm going to do everything that I can think of to do. I'm going to do that. And then I'll take your suggestions too. Like, if you say, Jessica, go do this, great. I'm going to go do that also, because I'm going to do everything I humanly can. Right. to get to that next level. And I mean, that's just like the mindset that I have as not just as an entrepreneur, but as a person. Right. It's just like level up.
So I think what you're saying is that on that moment when you want to switch gears and go into thriving is, one, be conscious of the fact of not going into cruise control, right? Just be conscious of, this is where I'm at. I should be grateful for where I'm at. I need to keep moving or I'm going to lose it, right? So that's a little bit of fear there of somebody trying on your heels.
If you want to go into cruise control mode, like, maybe you don't love what you do. Go find something that you don't want to hit cruise control, because you love it. Yeah. And you want to be in it every day. You want to be in it 24/7, and hitting cruise control feels like that loss for yourself.
Right.
So
that's a great point.
If you want to cash it in at 5 p.m. every day, maybe look in the mirror and say, like, hey, maybe I don't love my job.
Or my life.
I should find or my life. Like, maybe I should find something that I really love to do. Maybe I should explore my passions more.
Absolutely. I think that is fantastic advice. So if you're going on cruise control and you're finding yourself getting there, look inside. Now, unfortunately, if you're in cruise control, you don't know it most of the time. So I don't know how to tell people to recognize that they're on cruise control, But other than, if you're living significant parts of your life and you don't remember them, you're probably not living a fulfilled life, right? So, and the easiest one for me is like, if you don't remember driving to work in the morning, you're probably not in the best job for you, right?
Or are you watching The Bachelor at night versus like reading the industry trades on your phone? You know, like,
right.
Are you in it 24/7, or are you constantly looking to escape it? If you're
right.
constantly looking to escape, constantly looking to vacation, constantly looking to take time off, whether it's micro time off, you know, in the evenings drinking
right.
wine, you know, or if it's macro time off, like I want to go on vacation for 2 weeks and do something totally different. I think those would be your clues. Like you're on cruise control, and if you really truly want to get to the next level, maybe you don't, but if you want to get to the next level and you've hit that cruise control place, I think that's your sign.
Right.
Dig in, find something you're passionate about.
And that's something else that you really have to ask yourself. Do I really want to do this? Do I really want to be a business owner? Do I know what that even means? So if you think that you want to be an entrepreneur, I would recommend talking to 10 or 100. I probably talk to 10 entrepreneurs a day at this point in my life, right? So, which I love doing. This is so much fun for me. So, but if you find yourself not liking what you're doing or things like that, figure out how to change it as soon as possible. You got to just dig in and do that. And you're right. If you're watching 5 and 6 hours of TV at night, and now I'll tell you, on Thursday nights, me and my wife probably get home. We're probably both home by 7 p.m. and we go to bed at midnight every day. And we're both watching TV, but she's over there doing social media posts for the business, and I'm over here on my phone doing something else, and we kind of got background noise going on. But that's one day a week that we're both home by 7 p.m. Other than that, we're 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. almost 7 days a week. But we're always doing stuff that we love to do, and we're not sitting home watching The Bachelor. So, which is fantastic. On to our final question of the show. Is there a piece of technology that you use in your personal or business life that has made a change in a substantial way for you?
Yes. This is a very easy answer for me. There's very few pieces of technology that I use like on a very regular basis. And as an entrepreneur, like we've already talked about, it's a game. How much stress can you handle? How much stress can you bring yourself down from on a regular basis? And my recovery is critical. And to me, like recovery is quiet moments throughout the day, like you've talked about, but recovery to me is also sleep. And I think any entrepreneur that's in their business 24/7, like your head hits the pillow and you're like, oh, did I do this today? I was supposed to get this done. I got to remember this for tomorrow. And your brain's just constantly going about your business.
Right.
And I use an app to basically like help my brain calm down and help my like body be able to get to sleep very quickly. And it's the Calm app. And I use their sleep story function like almost every night.
Is that Calm with the C or a K? And I hate that I have to ask that anymore, but
with a C, yeah, Calm. And,
okay.
And that's what every entrepreneur needs is calm. You know, you hit the end of the day, you've just crushed your day. Can you bring yourself down from that day? And the way that I bring myself down from my day and help myself go to sleep like almost immediately is the Calm app. So I would highly recommend that if you're somebody whose brain is always running and you can't turn it off at night, look into that app because it's invaluable to me.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. So prior to, if you know my story, I got really sick about 6 or 7 years ago, and I had to overcome that. Prior to my liver issues, I was getting 2 or 3 hours of sleep a night on a regular basis, and I thought I was a warrior, a champion, right? Like, yeah, I'm running all these businesses and blah, 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 and then little did I know that my body was being destroyed on the back end of that whole thing. But now we sleep 8 hours every single night. We're in bed at midnight. We wake up at 8, and it is a routine, and it is very, very precise. And I know that my routine is different than a lot of people, especially entrepreneurs that like to get up super early and go to bed early. And I like that calm at between 10 p.m. and midnight. I like that world. So I just make my world for me, right? It's because it's my world. It's nobody else's. I don't have to live at that 3 a.m. time with some of those what I would call hardcore entrepreneurs. But God bless them for doing it. I'm gonna wake up at 8. and be happy. So sleep is very, very important. You should be getting your 8 hours of sleep. If you're not taking care of yourself, you're not taking care of your business, you're not taking care of your employees, you're sure as heck not taking care of your customers, right? So it's very, very important to make sure that you're taking care of yourself and get that sleep in and do those things. And it sounds like Jessica's got a great app called Calm to help you do that if you are struggling doing it outside of that. So I've got some other tips to help you sleep, but we'll save those for a different show. Anyway, that's it for today, folks. Thank you so much for joining us, Jessica. Do you have anything to give the audience before we end the show today?
I will just leave you with the advice to find your passion, find your passions, plural, and overlap them as best you can. You're just going to find so much happiness in your life, and I think you'll be grateful for it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time today. And that's it for today's show, folks. If you'd like to get in contact with me, my InLink account is inlink.com/Ken. It's got a link to all of my social media profiles. You can friend me on any of those. You can ask me any question you want. I'll do my best to answer them. inlink.com/Ken. You'll find my TikTok, my Instagram, my Cash App, all of those things in one location. Rapport made easy. That's it for today, folks. Get to work.